So I'm still Aaron, and I still work at Elastic. Nothing has changed in the past few minutes. But I want to talk about, we talked about complex computer systems. I want to talk about other complex systems, and it's your people and your organization. Before we get too far into it, we're going to have to do some definitions and assumptions because I only have 5 minutes. These are literally what those letters translate to. If you look at my abstract, it says probably fallout and relationship because we're talking about people. The assumption we're making is that it's better to optimize to be in relationship or be in a repaired state and get back there quickly rather than avoiding failure. Avoiding failure is an anti-pattern. We talked about complex systems. They're always changing, nonlinear inputs, so the same input doesn't always equal the same output. It's like a herd of cats. Not really sure what's going to happen in any given point in time. It keeps moving around. Right, root cause. There is no root cause to failure in complex systems and consequently to your relationships. The root cause of every plane crash is gravity exists. But stopping there is an excuse. That's a scapegoat rather than actually looking to learn and improve for the next time around. So when we look for those scapegoats and we optimize to avoid failure, we're building rigid systems. We're only building systems that understand the failure cases that have already happened. And so we can kind of avoid those, but we're building up a false perception of our system, which is going to be technical debt that you have to deal with. These false perceptions can eventually crash down and cause catastrophic failure. Yeah, okay. All that debt has to be paid, right? And what happens when you don't pay your debts? Eventually someone comes collecting and you'd rather pay them in little bits rather than all at once. All at once sucks. This happens with people too. Whenever you interact with someone, some sort of transaction takes place. Sometimes you both leave for the better. Sometimes we detract from each other, but that's okay as long as we understand that it's happening and we understand how to get back to an okay state between us. These failure cases are how we learn where the edges of our system are, right? When stuff breaks, we find out what doesn't work. Where's the edge of that? We find out where the edge of people are. We start to understand where we can push and where we need to pull back. Is it time to comfort someone and kind of step back from that because we're going to push too far? Or is it time to maybe step into this uncomfortable scenario so we can grow as people and hopefully grow in our relationships as well? All right, so how do we even attempt to do these sorts of things? There are some conditions and ways to do this. The first thing is we need to have a blameless culture. If your culture is one that looks to scapegoat, when stuff goes wrong, we say, it was their fault, none of this is going to matter. It's not going to work. You have to agree that we're looking to learn from the mistakes, not try to figure out who caused them. So step 0, achieve that first, then deal with everything else. Some lessons from distributed systems. Translations are real hard, especially when you're communicating over distances. So I work in probably one of the more distributed teams in our company where there's like 20-some people in like 16 time zones. When I say, I don't know if that'll give us the best bang for our buck, my Austrian colleague has no clue what I'm talking about because they don't say that. They don't know what that means. So sometimes we rub each other the wrong way. I've had conflicts with other people on the team because we're just not communicating at the same level. But if we start by assuming we're on the same team and we assume that we have good intent, we can then go into it and learn from that rather than begin fighting about it. If you use Zoom or whatever your video chat is, we do /Zoom in Slack. This is how we start eliminating abstractions. Like text-based conversation sucks for conveying emotions and understanding. Get face-to-face as best as you can so you can hear inflection and see emotions in people's voice. Like you're going to start to remove your reading your emotions into it and get what's actually there. Yeah, two-way communication is better than shouting into the void. I'm sorry to destroy Twitter's entire business model. But it's true, right? So try this on for size. Like what you're saying is the commits I made to the code broke the system again. What I'm hearing is I'm not really good enough to be part of this team, right? So there's a difference there. You're not going to start talking past each other where you're saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. You're like, I get it. I get what you're saying verbatim, but there's interpretation that happens. So if we can actually put that on the table, it helps out. Nonviolent communication is a great framework. This is like an incident management framework for conflict. Like when you have an incident between two people, nonviolent communication is a way to try and work about solving that problem by breaking it down into its component parts, like you would with any incident that happens in your systems. Starts out with observations. These are things that actually occurred, not your judgments about them. So, hey, I asked you for help on Tuesday for a project I have due Friday. It's now Thursday afternoon, and I haven't heard from you. There's no judgment. These are just the facts. Feelings, what does that cause for you? This isn't what you think about what's happening, but how do you feel? I mean, I feel scared because I don't know if I'm going to get it done. I might lose my job. And I'm angry because I asked you for something and you're not responding to me. What are your needs? I need the safety of knowing you're there for me. I need to know that my voice is heard. And I need that, support to actually get this job done. And there's a request. This is something you do want, so it has to be a positive request. And it might not happen. You have to understand that you can't demand things from other people with this either. So, hey, If you're going to help me, great. If not, let me know. And I need to know, say, within 24 hours that you're not going to be available. I would need to know that ahead of time. So here's more data. Like, what I have said is not enough to implement anything I've talked about. Here are other places you can learn about blamelessness and culture. And I've got an open space too. So we'll talk then. Thanks.